and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV that will send you into an elimination on your birthday. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge, Season 39, Battle for a New Champion, Episode 13, Lucky Number 13, or maybe it's Unlucky Number 13. Depends on how you look at what happens in this episode. And I'll be for real, I got some really strong opinions about certain people's gameplay and decisions that were made in this episode, but we'll get into all of that as we go through this review and recap. But let's now start off where last episode left off, and that was Michelle winning in an elimination against Cara Maria, winning in a big old puzzle, and coming back to the challenge house. Michelle is excited to be back. But you know who's even happier than Michelle that Michelle is still in this game? Jay, because Jay gets to keep his #1 ride or die still in this game, as well as Michelle is the glue that holds the whole alliance together. And let me tell you, Jay can wipe the sweat off of his brow now that Michelle is firmly back into this game. And now Jay, all he has to do is keep his eyes on targeting Horacio and Kyland. We move on to a conversation between Colleen and Raven where they really want to shake things up. This game needs a change up. We need to switch the whole thing, turn this game on its head, and put some pressure on Jay and Michelle. Later on in this episode, we will find out that talk is cheap. We now move on to a conversation between Olivia and Berna, where Olivia is complaining about Horacio, saying how he came into the game in the top 3, now he's in the bottom 3, and Berna goes as far to say that Jay seems more of Olivia's #1 than Horacio does at this moment. These couple of conversations are really trying to show a shift in the game, that something could be happening, that drama could be stirred up. Well, the next morning, Nerys is talking to Horacio, trying to give him some game advice. What advice could she be giving him? Hey, how about you talk to people? Because that's how a good social game works. The problem is that there's not a ton of people Horacio likes in the house or really wants to talk to. So that's really difficult for him to fake having conversations with people and really wanting to have those conversations with them. But he tells Nerys that he will try. But we'll put a pin in that as everybody dons their challenge gear, heads down to meet up with TJ on a runway for this week's daily challenge called Getting Tanked. This will be ran in teams of 4, where 3 people will be diving into this tanker truck that's filled with water, trying to collect letters to hand to somebody who is on top of the truck, who will then use those letters to spell out Challenge Champion on the back of the truck. The one team that can do this the quickest will win into power and win into safety. Now let's go into who's on each team. Team 1 is made up of Emmanuel, Kyland, Mariah, and Zara. Team 2 is Asaf, Colleen, Horacio, Michelle. Team 3 is James, Jay, Nerys, and Raven. And Team 4 is Berna, Coriel, Ed, and Olivia. On a personal level, I kind of really liked this daily challenge. I mean, the truck was really cool. The truck element was really cool. I feel like this was a bit safer than the runaway ride daily challenge that happened on season 38, as well as all the global spin-offs. It was simple, yet aesthetically pleasing. I pretty much dug this daily challenge. Now let's get into all of the heats. Team 1 was up first, and they were pretty fast, but they stumbled quite a bit. It can be a major disadvantage going first in these challenges, and it seemed to be a disadvantage for Team 1. Team 2 was going way too slow, and we find out just why. Horacio was elected to be the guy on top of the truck, and being on a team with Asaf and Michelle, whose whole alliance is targeting Horacio and Kyland, since it was just 2 Women's Days in a row, everybody is pretty much guaranteeing that it is going to be a Men's Day. And so they want to leave Horacio open to be nominated. So Asaf and Michelle are throwing the competition, or should I say tanking the competition. They stink up the joint, and they definitely come in last place or whatever. They don't win. Team 3 is very solid, and we find out that Jay has some really staunch tan lines. And Team 4, we find out that Ed is smart. Ed's whole strategy of being on top of the truck and spelling out the word as quickly as possible was assigning all the letters numbers that make up Challenge Champion, so he's not constantly respelling it every time he's taking letters to the back of the truck, which I think is very, very smart, and it turns out to be a really good strategy, and as Team 4, made up of Berna, Coriel, Ed, and Olivia, win this daily challenge, and TJ tells them to nominate one man. In their deliberation, Coriel takes the leadership role and throws out Horacio's name right away. We are in episode 13, and Coriel feels like the final is going to be happening sooner rather than later, so why not start preparing for it by nominating one of the strongest players in the game. Berna also feels that way, Ed feels that way, so Horacio is nominated. Kyland then starts calling out Team 4's decision, saying that they are playing a scared game because they nominated Horacio, and that means you don't want to see him in the final, meaning you don't want to run a final against him. I understand where Kyland is coming from, saying that you're scared to run a final with Horacio, but also I don't necessarily see this as a scared game move. I think that this is actually quite smart. I think Kyland is trying to stand up for his friend Horacio, and I think that is very noble of him. We get back to the challenge house where we see a conversation between Jay, Mariah, Coriel, and Emmanuel are all talking, and they're all guaranteeing that they're going to vote for Kyland because, in Jay's own words, this worked out too perfectly for them. Now, what I find interesting is that both Jay and Emmanuel have these confessionals saying how bored they are, and it's now time to play the game. But it's like, you're not doing anything that differently. So for you to be like, we were playing bored in the first 12 episodes, but now it's time to play the game and get excited by voting in Kyland again. I wouldn't necessarily say you're doing anything quite differently, yet you're trying to pass it off like, oh, now we're playing the game. Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. We go to the bar scene where Colleen confronts Jay about the Alliance being on the bottom of the Alliance. What can he reassure her? Because when coming into this game and saying yes to being a part of their Alliance, she felt like she would have equal say and equal slice of the pie, yet she's very disappointed with how the game has transpired and how the Alliance is treating her. And Jay is like, I can try to help you, but if Raven is safe, then you're going to be the vote anyways, just solidifying what Colleen is frustrated about and has been frustrated about this whole entire game. Nerys is coming to terms that maybe she isn't in the right alliance for her. They just nominated Horacio, her number one. She's also very close friends with Kyland, and everybody seems to be wanting to get those two into the elimination, and Nerys feels a little bit dumb because she feels like a pawn. She feels close with all these people, yet the people that she wants to help protect are now public enemies number one. Jay and Olivia talk about Horacio. They're talking quite aggressively about him and how he doesn't care for Olivia at all. They even bring Nerys over here, and Nerys is trying to vouch for Horacio, but Jay and Olivia don't want to hear it at all. So I don't understand. I think that Jay and Olivia was like, we can talk to Nerys and then try to scrub Horacio and Kyland out of her mind and try to get her back on our side 100%, but that was never going to happen. And it just turns into this big argument where Nerys is just going to being even more zealous on the side of Horacio and Kyland, and Jay and Olivia just get super frustrated with Nerys. Horacio comes over, tries to take Olivia away from the situation, tries to reassure her. Olivia says that is great that she is getting this reassurance finally, and she finally feels heard from Horacio, but is it a little too late? Has the damage been done? Yeah, pretty much. We go back to the challenge house, and Kyland is talking to Colleen about her conversation that she had with Jay in the bar. Is she now ready to forgive and forget everything that they put her through and that she's just going to run with the Alliance from here on out? And Colleen says, no, nothing has changed. I'm wanting to be in this Alliance. Kyland now feels like he can push for Jay to be the house vote. With Colleen on their side, Zara, and maybe wrap James in, if they could have these numbers, then try to push for Nerys to be on their side. It's going to be a very tough ask for people, but Kyland wants to try to make this move. Zara goes and talks to James about the plan, and James has to run everything by Mariah, which then 2 seconds after Mariah hears the plan from James, runs and goes and tells Jay and Michelle the whole plan that Kyland is throwing Jay's name out there, wants him to be the house vote, and then Jay gets all this like jittery, like, oh, now the game starts to play. Ooh, now this is what I live for. I was kind of bored back then, and now somebody's saying my name, I can go confront them at the pool. And so Jay like starts walking out, and he's just like, ooh, people want to play the game. He finds Kyland sitting there with Raven by the pool talking, and Jay sits down and says, oh, I hear you're saying my name. Well, you want to say my name? This is the game. This is the game that I signed up for. We're talking and we're going to have this gameplay. Kyland, super calm. He's like, you seem pretty aggro, as he said it. You're getting pretty aggro. This is just the game that we signed up for, man. I know where I stand with your alliance, and it's not good. I want to try to get you nominated to send into elimination because you're in a really strong position. Raven says her piece about Jay and the alliance and how she feels about being nominated and voted multiple times by their alliance. Zara says that Jay is spiraling, and I couldn't agree with her more. It's like the tiniest little bit of confrontation, Jay gets a little bit upset that his name is just happened to be flying out there, and he's kind of flying off the handles. Nerys confronts Jay about just how much he will be able to protect her moving forward. And Nerys even talks about how much of a pickle she's in because she is in this Fantastic Four alliance. She is genuine friends with Jay inside and outside of the house. So she doesn't necessarily want to say his name. Horacio has already been nominated, and then she's really close with Kyland, and if she doesn't vote for Jay, and she says anybody else's name, it's basically a vote for Kyland, so she just feels in a really, really tough position. But then we get to the deliberation, and I was like, okay, Kyland is 100% going to be nominated. It's going to be a landslide no matter what. However, it wasn't. We start off this deliberation 4 votes to Jay, and it comes down to Nerys, who then votes for Emmanuel. Then Colleen is up, and she goes, well, there's no way we can get all the numbers now that Nerys didn't vote for Jay, so why should I put my tail on the line? And I'm gonna vote for Kyland. And then an avalanche of Kyland votes come in, and Kyland is nominated 7-4-1. This is where I have major opinions about everything we've been watching throughout this entire season. The past like 3 to 4 episodes, Colleen has gotten screen time talking about how she doesn't like the position she is in this alliance and how she really wants to do something about it. Yet, the first moment she could do something about it, she crawls back to the same alliance. All this really did for Colleen was solidify her already bad position in a very big alliance, as well as the other side of the house can't trust you either. So you're in a bad spot in both alliances that are created in this house. I do not want to hear any more complaints about where you stand in any alliance or this game or whatever because you made this decision. I don't want to hear anything about it. I don't want to hear it. We've heard it the past 3 to 4 episodes and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. So whatever, I don't care. Nominations, Horacio and Kyland are down in the arena with TJ, and TJ then calls out Brad. A bit of a chilled response, I should say. There were some claps, but you can tell that maybe not a ton of these people know exactly who Brad is. Kyland, on the other hand, is loving it. He's calling Brad a legend. He's happy to be here. He's happy to see Brad here. Kyland has grown on me throughout this entire season, but also just him being a challenge fan has really made this season for me to where I'm like, yes, at least one person is a challenge fan on this season. Now, Brad picks a poll, and it is revealed that it is Kyland. And we find out that it is actually Kyland's birthday, or at midnight, it was going to be Kyland's birthday at the elimination. So we have birthday boy Kyland going up against big bearded Brad in this week's elimination called What's Going Down. There's these 2 giant towers in the elimination arena. You have to move the planks to get all the way down to the ground floor where there are balls numbered 1 through 10. You have to transfer the balls one at a time to the top and dispense them down in a tube next to your towers. And you have to do them in order 10 through 1. The first player to transport all 10 of their balls up and dispense them in the tube will win this elimination. Brad will win 10K and send Kyland packing, or Kyland will save the team 10K and get to stay in the game and probably be nominated next week. This is technically not a puzzle. This is more of an endurance-based elimination. We've seen contraptions like this in the past. Season 38, The Dark Web, also breaking through in Season 24. This one is very simple compared to the previous two I just mentioned, where you're just taking yoga balls from the bottom floor and then transporting them up. Not my favorite elimination. I feel like this is yet another miss in my book for champion eliminations. When it came down to it, Kyland was much quicker. He had a lot more pick up and go in his step. He lapped Brad a couple of times to where he got off to an early lead and never looked back. Kyland was just running on all cylinders, winning this 10-6. Kyland even said, "Jay, this one's for you," locking in the win. And Brad, on his way out, had words of wisdom saying, "Keep your heart in the game and keep on going until the very end," as well as he had a ton of compliments to say about Kyland, thinking that Kyland has what it takes to not only win this game, but also win seasons into the future, which Kyland is playing a really, really solid game. I really appreciate Kyland. I'm glad Kyland won, got to stay in this game. It was fun to see Brad and his big old beard. He did his best on a very short notice because the rumors are that Bananas was supposed to be on this season. And then when he dropped out, Brad was called and it was a bit of a short notice. But even with Kyland winning, we know that there's going to be another men's elimination right after this one. We know that CT is going to be walking into the arena. So anything could happen. But we know that the status is that Horacio and Kyland are on the bottom of the bottom, and they need to find a way to win this upcoming daily challenge, which from the previews say it is a mini final. So I am very much looking forward to next week's episode. Episode 14 seems like it's going to be a real banger of an episode. Having a mini final, CT's coming in, sign me up. Is it Wednesday already? That's what I'm asking, because that's what I'm waiting for. But what did you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about all the alliance talk? Do you think Colleen made the right decision not voting for Jay because the plan was already trashed anyways? Or do you think she made the right decision by sticking with her alliance that she's been running with this whole entire time? Let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about the daily challenge? What did you think about the elimination? What did you think about seeing Brad back on the challenge main season? We haven't seen him on MTV since season 32 Final Reckoning. Are you excited to see CT next? What do you think the elimination style will be? Do you think it's gonna be yet another puzzle? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. Now I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge 39 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace. Hypothetically, if you were to have chosen the Chaos Club, did you have somebody in mind?
I hope he doesn't get mad at me for saying this, and I'll leave out some details, but one of my guys calls me up, an old school challenger. I get a call, and he wants me to call out a specific player, okay? Like, almost like he's putting a hit out. So I was actually going to pull this ticket for him.
You pull Kyland.
All right. I mean, it's pretty obvious who it is. I mean, Johnny called me before this thing, all right? Johnny called me, and he